What happened was.
Hey friends, it's so nice to see you. It's today, the time is now. You are here and the weather is outside your window.
Today's guest is a pastry chef, an actor, a writer, and a drag queen. But not just any drag queen. The Hausfrau of the Heartland, Bertha Mason. Please welcome my friend, Michael Bowen.
Hi.
Hi, Zach. How are you?
Okay, how are you?
It's great seeing you. Surviving the pandemic?
We've survived a pandemic. Today we're surviving a heat wave in New York City.
Yeah, it's miserable.
More to come, 97 tomorrow.
It's a tropical heat wave.
Yeah. I'm used to it because, as you know, I grew up in Florida.
Do you like this humidity?
I love it. It makes me feel like I'm at home.
Okay. All right.
Close my eyes.
I feel like it's like walking into a dog's mouth that's been eating garbage.
Yeah, but that's what it's like when you go to check the mailbox during the day on a, Florida July day.
Not for me.
Then you just return to your air-conditioned home and watch Days of Our Lives, and all is good. So.
Oh, that's wonderful. I was
Yeah.
I was a CBS watcher, so we watched Bold and the Beautiful, As the World Turns, and Guiding Light.
Oh, yeah. I did Days of Our Lives and One Life to Live.
Oh, see, my mother, when we were younger, my mother would pick the babysitter based on what soap operas they watched. So if they watched CBS, they got hired. So we could tell my mom what we watched.
Oh, that's great. So you were giving synopsis of what happened today on CBS daytime.
Right, on Guiding Light. She'd come home and then we'd say, what happened to Victor and Victoria on Bold and the Beautiful? I'd be like, wow.
Oh my goodness. Did you get Soap Opera Digest at your home?
I did not.
I didn't either, but I used to read it on, the checkout stands at the aisles,
We never, no. We're devoted to those three: Guiding Light, Bold and Beautiful, As the World Turns.
Got it. Well, it's so great to see you, and thank you so much for coming on What Happened Was. I think you are the 24th episode.
Oh, how exciting.
Yeah, it's been rolling along. And I'm so excited to finally sit down and talk with you. We met, of course, in Chicago in 2009 while I was there doing the Addams Family. And you came as a guest of a mutual friend to see the final dress rehearsal.
I did.
And you brought pie for me.
I did. I always bring pie. I think that's the best way to make friends is by bringing a homemade pie.
If you're good at making pie. If you're not, you should not bring pie.
I'm very good at making pie, so everyone's delighted by my pie.
I know. I remember one year I hit you up for Thanksgiving pies.
Oh, you've done that several years.
Yeah. And you also did the pies at my second wedding, which didn't work out, but your pies were great.
Yeah. And I had a pie party that you came to, and yeah, my life is pie all the time.
But it's not just pie, because you also are a pie baking drag queen named Bertha Mason.
I am a Midwestern pie baking drag queen whose name is Bertha Mason. She is the Hausfrau of the Heartland.
Yes.
And comes from Franklin, Minnesota, and I've been doing it for 25 years now. It's different. It's fantastic. It's weird to say that. It's like I could have it's like half my life. More than half my life.
I know you and I know Bertha, and I know, you're very much one and the same in a lot of ways, but in a lot of ways, you're very different when you're Bertha. And I'm sure you've experienced that with a lot of people, perhaps they see you in a different light.
I think when I'm Bertha, the way Bertha just kind of happened by accident. I was working at a summer stock theater in upstate New York, and we had a techie talent show, and I found a wig and this dress and these horn rim glasses, and I lip synced to Patsy Cline's Honky Tonk Merry-Go-Round, and I brought cupcakes, and the character was born, and it slowly developed until I was running a weekly show. I would rent out a church and do a Midwestern church feed, and then here I've been on various shows. But when I am Bertha, people who've known me my whole life, like you have, they don't see me because I changed completely. My hair is different.
Yeah.
I look, my body, because I'm tall. I'm tall like you. I'm 6'4". And so as Bertha, I'm even taller, but I work very hard to make myself look smaller. And what I try to do with my character, and it's really a cross between like At Home with Amy Sedaris and Dame Edna, who makes pies. I want to bring people in. I think what happens a lot of time with drag is that it's pushing people away. And Bertha is very inclusive and welcoming. And she's like the large-breasted, slightly awkward, greatly inappropriately grandmother that we all know. And when I have a show and when I do bake, I try to make my show and the food taste like memory. And so I'm creating home for those who can't go home.
Yep.
And my pie tastes like memory, right? It's like, oh, this pie tastes like if my grandmother made a pie, this is what it would taste like.
Yes, yes. And I've seen you as Bertha so many times in so many different scenarios, and it's almost shocking how wholesome you are, and you really are just like everyone's grandma or aunt. And
yeah, I think there's a time when I'm wholesome, but because I think that I operate in the line of high camp when I'm Bertha. So there's very much a satirical side. And Bertha never swears. I only swore once as Bertha during a terrible show, a terrible, terrible show. I had this idea in Chicago to do a dating baking show called Bake a Date. And it was, we'd have 3 bachelors and a guest, and they would do like the dating game. Instead of going on a date, they made a pie on stage with Bertha.
I love that.
It was a fiasco. It's the only time I ever swore as Bertha. But she's very sharp. She's very quick, and the shows are kind of slapdash, and they have a very improv feel, but it's very, very scripted. My friend Dave and I write the scripts very tightly.
Yeah.
So it's quite, it looks unprofessional, but it's not.
It's definitely not. It's very sophisticated, and it's very unique. I mean, I've experienced a lot of drag in my life, and like everyone, I watch Drag Race, and it's become such a part of pop culture. But what you do is so unique, and I've never seen anything like it. And
well, thank you very much. I think that Bertha is a character. I mean, sometimes it's so weird because there's a whole section of my life that does not know my real name. They just know me as Bertha, and
Sure. Well, I emailed you today, and I emailed Bertha.
Just and I was like, let's use the other one. So Bertha. I mean, and what I would like to. I mean, I really loved in Chicago doing church suppers where I'd rent out a church.
Yeah. And
here in New York, I was performing pre-COVID at a Methodist church. So every month we would have a different show based on Gay Pride, The Wizard of Oz, Moon Pie, anything I want to do a show. I mean, I've done shows about Arbor Day, Groundhog's Day, and that's what's great is that the character can adjust to anything.
Right.
And I'd love to do something like Bertha Bakes Broadway, where I have Broadway people come on and I make a recipe based on their show, and then we ask questions about Broadway musicals and have to guess the show.
Yeah, it's you remind me of Eugene Levy talking about writing the characters for Schitt's Creek, because they kind of just wanted to, Dan Levy wanted to just, let's do the show. And Eugene was like, we have to know these characters inside and out. We have to know the answers for everything, or it won't be funny. We have to know them so deeply. And it reminds me of you, because you talk about your family members as Bertha. Bertha has a whole family. And you know
Bertha
them
has,
so well, and we feel that relationship.
I think that that's the thing, is that Bertha, like I've been doing it for 25 years, and sometimes I go back and forth, and now I have a mustache. I haven't done it because of COVID.
Right.
I'm trying to write a real big show, which I call the Big Bertha Show. And I want to do all the things that I want. I want it to be a musical number. I want it to be a pie fight. I want it to be question and answers. And so I thought, let's take COVID. And so I grew a mustache. So the only time I ever have a mustache is when I'm not performing Bertha.
Right.
And, but I can shave it off and slap that wig on, put the makeup on, and instantaneously the character's there. It's a fully formed character. She arrived fully formed, and she just gets richer and richer. And it's so weird to talk about me as her, because it's so different.
Yeah.
So different.
Yeah, for sure.
And someone described her as being hilariously heartbreaking and tenderly sad. And I thought, oh, she is. She is. Sure. She's never able to connect to her emotions, but she thinks she's so popular. she thinks she's so hip.
Yeah, but I also see her as just as an outsider, someone who's watched her a lot. I see her as someone who loves so much and gives so much to everyone, and it's like, who's giving love to her?
Well, I don't. That's the thing. I think that Bertha puts the mother in smother. I mean, and she. I think that's why she does these shows, is because she is a glutton for tenderness. And the nice thing about having a character who has a backstory, I can write a whole, like, I can think, oh, Bertha's going to go to Paris. Bertha's going to meet the devil. Bertha is going to do all these things. And it's like, oh, Bertha can do anything. And it's great fun, because she is such a unique character, and I delight in playing her.
Absolutely.
And I'm also a real good baker. I mean, I'm a professionally trained pastry chef. So it's not like you're getting like terrible pies. Like, the pie is good. And then you have this huge campy presentation. You're like, oh, this is really good. It's so different. It's a delight.
Yeah. The baking isn't just a gimmick. You are a trained pastry chef.
I am. I do have a degree in baking and pastry arts. So
well, and similarly, the good jokes and the good writing and the character development, that's not an accident either, because you're also a writer.
Yes, I have been writing for, my whole entire life, and I get up every morning and I write 3 pages and I journal every day, and there's always something going. It's a play, an essay, a novel. I'm always writing, and I'm always baking pies. Like,
what has been the most surprising experience you've had as Bertha?
Good surprising, or bad surprising, or odd surprising?
Whatever.
I think that it was one time in Chicago. So in Chicago, what I was doing, because Chicago, for those who are listening, Chicago is a great city, and it's a great theater town. It's a great opera town. It's a fantastic performance city. I plug for Chicago. And I was able to do these small parties, and people would hire me to come and do a bridal shower. And I would be hired to go out to like rural Indiana, rural Illinois. So here I am in a rental car, full drag, 7 hair, and I'm driving, and there's like, someone's coming to entertain. And I would walk into a stranger's kitchen. Usually they're predominantly women, usually really drunk by this point.
Yeah.
And I had to make a pie, entertain in a kitchen I've never been in my life.
Wow.
And then perform a show. And sometimes it was fantastic. Other times it was frightening and wonderful. And it was just, when I would talk to people, like, what is the bride like? What is she want? We kind of customize the pie, they get an apron. And no matter how many times I did it, people were so skeptical and so uncertain, because this was happening pre-Drag Race. This was like in 2003, 2004. I'm doing full day drag and driving a rental car.
And pause.
And they didn't know what to make of it.
In drag driving from Chicago?
Yeah, because I'm like a wrestler. Because when you book Bertha, you get Bertha. So
Bertha shows up.
Yes, I would be.
Bertha gets out of the car.
Bertha gets out of the car. One time in Chicago, it was winter. I remember this. And because it was all kinds of things in Chicago, I had outfits. Like, I had rain hats, I had boots, I had like fur coats and kerchiefs. Like, Bertha was real. And by the end of this 2-hour thing, because it was always 2 hours and it was very tight. Like, I ran a tight show.
Yeah.
And by the end, everyone is so transformed by the experience.
Yeah.
I created a sense of community through pie and comedy. But also, I am a man in drag in rural Indiana. And it's something very exciting. And again, this was pre-Drag Race. So I felt weirdly punk rock being this Midwestern Lutheran pie baking drag queen. I'm not from the Midwest, by the way, but I've adopted it as my home.
Right.
I guess.
Yeah, it's very much.
Because I like good Jell-O salad, so it has to be the Midwest.
Yeah. You're well researched and have.
Oh yeah.
And what has been the most fulfilling experience as Bertha?
I think the most fulfilling experience for me was I did back on the anniversary of Stonewall. I had a chance to perform at Stonewall, and I also performed at the it's called the Church of the Village, and it's the Methodist church in New York where P-Flag was founded. And it was an experience to be in that historical place, to be in this audience of straight, old, gay, trans, and to do a show that ended in pie. And it just felt electric. And I really felt that I was a part of a community, but also a part of something bigger. And I really felt connected, because sometimes, because my drag is so different, like I don't do shows, I don't perform as in numbers, I don't do death drops, I do character stuff. Sometimes I don't feel like I fit into the drag performance community, because I'm kind of this weird amalgamation of stand-up and baking and drag. But that moment at that church and doing the show, and the whole show was about Judy Garland, and we made a strawberry rhubarb bituate pie. and it was not about Judy being an icon, it was Judy being a mother. And what Bertha discovered was her daughter was a lesbian, and that was this underlying story, and she didn't know how to address it. So it was just all this stuff coming together. And one of the audience members came up and said, "Oh my God, I cried over Bertha because it was so," and I just thought, wow, I mean, I'm getting chills thinking about it, because I just didn't expect someone to cry over like this story about a mother and pie and Judy Garland and in a basement and a drag queen in the basement of a church. It was a great experience.
Wow. Well, can I ask you some questions?
Of course you may.
Okay. Zodiac sign.
I am a Libra. Bertha is born March 14th, but I don't know what that is.
I think she's a Pisces then.
She's a Pisces, sure, because that's Pi Day. She's born on 3.14.
Ah, I see. Clever. Coffee or tea?
Coffee. Coffee by the bucket.
Favorite color?
Blue, light blue.
Favorite flavor of pie?
Am I making it or am I eating it?
Eating it.
Any kind of rhubarb, strawberry rhubarb, rhubarb. I've been making lately. I've been making not now because it's not rhubarb season, but rhubarb apple with a brown sugar crumb top. It is my new favorite pie.
Yum.
It is fantastic. It is. I love this pie.
Favorite cake?
No, that's a hard. It's like a hard question. I guess I just made a chocolate zucchini cake. Or a banana cake, I guess. My friend Dave would want me to say a tomato soup cake, which is his favorite, and I think it's disgusting. So I'll say chocolate zucchini. It's a tomato soup cake. It's a cake, so it's like an applesauce spice cake. So you use a can of tomato soup instead of the applesauce, and it comes out orange.
I don't want it.
And then you put a cream cheese frosting on it.
No.
Yeah, good choice. Good choice.
I don't want it. Yeah. Favorite ice cream flavor?
Oh, cookies and cream.
Cookies and cream. So as a baker, what is your favorite savory food to make?
My favorite savory food is, I always like to make some sort of pie. Like I will try to make anything into a pie. And I have a galette that I make, which is a caramelized onion jam, goat cheese, olives, and then you fold it up and it's just a little galette. It's like my go-to. Like whenever I have to go somewhere, there's two things I'll make. I'll make a lemon blueberry pie because it's quick and easy, or I'll make this onion goat cheese galette. Just easy to throw together.
Is it folded into a dough or something, or what?
Yeah, so you take the pie take the pie crust and you lay it out, and then you put the layer of goat cheese, then the onion jam, and then you kind of fold it up like a little envelope. So there's a little tiny opening, and then there.
That sounds delicious.
Delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yum.
I also make a nice a tomato pie, which is fantastic.
Oh.
It's roasted tomatoes, and then on top, so it's a pie crust. Roasted tomatoes, and then on top you put mayonnaise and egg, Parmesan cheese, and you bake it. And so it's almost like a deep dish pizza, but it's a pie.
Wow.
It's very summer.
You lost me at mayonnaise, but also if you served it to me and I didn't know, I would probably eat it and love it, right?
One time I made a whole meal, because I had a friend who said they hated mayonnaise. And so I made a whole meal with hidden mayonnaise. I made a mayonnaise cake, a chocolate mayonnaise cake.
That's okay.
a chicken, like a chicken dress that was covered with mayonnaise and Parmesan cheese and baked in the oven. And then the tomato pie. And they're like, oh my God, this is so delicious. I was like, everything is mayonnaise.
That's maniacal.
Well, they ate it and they loved it.
Right, exactly. Okay. Okay. You can go back in time to any moment in your life and tell your younger self in that moment one thing. What is it?
I would go back to probably 17, and I would tell myself to travel to Europe after my senior year and not to be so afraid, to be more open and accepting, and don't waste your pretty.
Oh, that's beautiful. Okay, this is the last one. It's a biggie. What is the meaning of life?
I think the meaning of life is to be honest to yourself and show your heart to those who you truly love, even though they may never love you back.
Oh, wow. That's beautiful.
And of course, pie.
Pie.
Of course. Pie is the meaning of life too. Like, you think about it, you never eat pie alone. It's always a piece of, and it's always one of a whole part, and it brings people together. And even bad pie makes people happy. It's really, really quite unifying.
What if you eat the entire pie in one sitting? Then not
lucky you.
Okay.
That's what I say.
Yeah.
You know, and the best thing is that pie is so versatile that you can, pie for breakfast, like a good piece of fruit pie for breakfast. It is fantastic with coffee. It is wonderful. Like, sometimes I make pie just so I can have it for breakfast.
Do you eat it chilled?
I'll eat, yeah, of course. I don't heat it up.
Yeah.
I prefer my fruit pies at room temperature, and custard pies chilled, but I'll eat pie anytime, anyway. I will eat pie. As my mother passed last year, and she had diabetes and stuff, but she was pie obsessed. And so at Thanksgiving, she's like, I need pie. And so I feel like I'm carrying the tradition of my family by being pie obsessed.
Wow, that's gorgeous. Well, thank you so much for coming on. This has been a pleasure. And
yes, this has been great.
Where can everyone find you on the interwebs?
They can find me on my website is Baking with Bertha, very straightforward. And my Instagram, which I haven't really done much because, there's been a pandemic. But you can see some fun videos and stuff. I'm at baking_with_Bertha on Instagram.
Awesome. Well, I hope to see you soon and share a pie with you.
I would be, what kind of pie would you like?
Well, it's the summer, so naturally a key lime.
You're from Florida. Thank you, Zach. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
That's all for today's episode. Puppies and rainbows till we meet again.